What is going on, everybody? I'm going to do what I got to do this time. Make sure that we actually have. There we go. We do actually have audio this time. Jesus Christ, you talk about a nightmare scenario yesterday. Whenever I start the show, I'm talking for about a good, I want to say 10 minutes. I'm talking. And then I finally get an alert from one of the viewers on YouTube saying, hey, can't hear the show. And I am losing my GD mind on why I'm not able to hear myself over the stream. Like everything's plugged in. I've touched nothing. So I'm sitting here thinking to myself, my kids must have gone in here and ruined something. Like they touched something. Someone was about to catch a whooping. I know that much, right? I'm from the South. I could say things like that. It felt like something bad happened. I was like, maybe Jerry Jones, the ghost of Jerry Jones, came into my house and was like, this guy's not going to be allowed to talk on a Tuesday after the Dallas Cowboys basically shit themselves. Like, we're going to do whatever we got to do to make sure this guy doesn't be able to get on the air. And it winds up being an issue with StreamYard. And I apologize yesterday. Trust me, for the 30 minutes that I was trying to figure out what the heck was going on with my stream, not getting a message from StreamYard, who is the server who allows me to basically broadcast out to a bunch of different areas at once. It was a nightmare scenario for me. It really was. It was one of those things where it was like, Jesus Christ, what can be going wrong at this moment? Luckily, everything seems to be fixed now. I can hear myself. Yes. I can hear myself on the streams, so we're good. We're good. This right here is where all the contingency checks come in to make sure that everything is working the way that it should be working. Okay, that's enough of me talking about all that nonsense. A lot of stuff that we're going to get to on today's show. I want to talk a little bit about the Dallas Cowboys. Of course, I want to talk about the best teams in the NFL and who is the MVP of the NFL so far this season. Obviously, you got to say so far this season because that's one of those awards that can change. One thing happens 1 week, and then all of a sudden, you're no longer an MVP candidate. But I want to talk about the Dallas Cowboys and that game because I just didn't get an opportunity to talk about it yesterday. And as everyone knows, I am a Dallas Cowboys fan. The Dallas Cowboys, to me, found a way to lose a game that they should not have lost. The Dallas Cowboys obviously came into this game with a little more momentum going their way than what Cincinnati had. The Dallas Cowboys, obviously, I'm not saying by any means that they were a much better team than Cincinnati. I just felt like they had something going their way. They had something to play for. They enter this game, they win, their playoff odds increase, right? They lose this game, their playoff odds become less than 1. And that's where the Dallas Cowboys are at right now, is less than 1% of a chance to make the playoffs. Now, obviously, me being me, Mr. Super Optimistic, I'm going to say, so you're saying there's a chance. Hold on, I got to fix this light. It's bothering me. There we go. That's part of all the stuff that I was doing yesterday to try to make sure everything was going the way that it should be going. But the Dallas Cowboys come into the game yesterday or on a Monday, and they have something to play for. You can see the emotion from people like Micah Parsons as the game was getting closer to the end, being like, damn it, like they knew that basically it was over at that point in time. And it's hard to it's hard for me, even as a fan, to sit here and say that there is a shot for the Dallas Cowboys to be able to make any type of momentum, to make any type of playoff push, to do any of this. And it's not just the way that they lost. Like, once again, want to give a shout out to Linda McGrath saying, hey, Mike, have a great show. Thank you so much, Linda. I appreciate that. It's not so much that the Dallas Cowboys lost. It's the manner of which they lost, right? And I'm saying this as someone like, again, I guess it was last week where I went full dad mode on the LA Lakers, right? Like I'm not mad at you. I'm just disappointed. And that's how I feel right now about the Dallas Cowboys. It's not that you lost, it's how you lost. Everything went right for the Dallas Cowboys. They're able to get a 3-and-out. block a punt, and feasibly, if no one on the Cowboys touches the punt, they get the ball in great field position. They've been running the ball all day against Cincinnati. Just run it, make them use up their timeouts, make them milk the clock. Milk the clock. That's all you got to do. Milk the clock. And the Dallas Cowboys find a way, after having their 3 and out, after doing what they needed to do defensively, after getting one of the more rare things to happen in today's NFL of blocking a punt, after doing all of those things, they find a way to lose this game. Armani Ouaraye, man, that's a mouthful. That's the last time I want to say that. He's just going to be number 27 from now on. Tries to field the ball after it was blocked, touches his damn forearm, falls off into the abyss, recovered by Cincinnati, and now Cincinnati has all the makings that they need to wind up winning the game. And you talk about dumb ways to lose a game. That is the dumbest damn way to lose a game. That is, without a shadow of a doubt, like I was tweeting, I was on Threads, I was doing all those things. Like, they invent ways to lose, or they resurrect the corpse of Leon Lett and bring that spirit into now Jerry World. You dug it up out of Texas Stadium, and now you have that memory with God watching once again as the roof is open in Dallas. Just shades of Leon Lett. Granted, there wasn't any snow, but you block a damn kick, and some idiot tries to grab the ball whenever all he has to do is just run away. Augustine Pimentel called me yesterday. What's good, Tommy? I see that you're tuned into the show right now. What's good? Augustine Pimentel called me yesterday because he could tell that I was a little frustrated with how things were going, not being able to have audio. Again, for those that just tuned in right now, not an us issue. That was a server issue. We will be better next time. I wanted to do a show again yesterday, but I didn't get access, or the audio problem wasn't fixed until about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And by that time, I had already exhausted my brain trying to figure out what we can do to get things fixed. Hopefully it's good for now. I was already looking up new services. I was like, look, I've been using this for 5 years. I can't let one little thing deter me from using this again in the future. One mess up in 5 years, I'll take those numbers. But the Dallas Cowboys invent a way to lose. They block a punt. Number 27, Amani, I'm not saying his last name anymore. Said it one time, butchered it, not saying it again. Armani touches the damn ball. Cincinnati recovers. The next play after that, or a couple plays after that, a 40-yard touchdown to Jamar Chase. And I sat there and I thought to myself, most of the time, I have faith in seeing a team that was able to move the ball successfully against the defense, be able to, in a minute, at least get down, to the 50, maybe the plus 40, and throw a Hail Mary. Let's see what happens. I knew the second the Dallas Cowboys got the ball, and you know that they signed their kicker. Those that don't know, if you weren't watching the game, Evan McPherson is injured. The Bengals signed a kicker this past week, days before the game. And part of the criteria for the kicker was you better have a big enough leg to boot that damn ball out of the end zone, because you're not getting it to Kevontae Turpin. They boomed the ball out of the end zone. Dallas gets the ball at the 30, and I knew in my mind they cannot get 20 yards. They did everything they could, the Dallas Cowboys did, to lose that game. As much of a big win as that is for Cincinnati, their playoff hopes are still alive. Just, again, slim, super slim playoff hopes. As much as that win helped out Cincinnati is exactly what it could have done for the Dallas Cowboys. We're talking about a 6-7 team going up to face the Carolina Panthers. Then after that, you have a couple of good teams, and that's your measuring stick. That's where you say to yourself, who are we going to be? They have to win all but one of those games. I was giving them the loss against Philadelphia, but the Dallas Cowboys would have had to go in and win those games against Carolina, against Tampa Bay. Maybe you beat Philly. The sun shines on a dog's ass every now and then, and you beat Washington. If Dallas were able to do that, finish the season with a 10-7 record, then they had a possibility. Now it's done. Now it's done, right? Like, again, me, Mr. Optimistic, less than 1% chance of the Dallas Cowboys to make the playoffs now. They would have to win out, and they would have to have a lot of teams lose in order for them to make the playoffs. There was still a small outside chance of the Dallas Cowboys getting the second wild card. Now the only shot they have is the last wild card. Washington right now is in that final spot, and Dallas is 3 games behind Washington in that, and there's 5 teams currently ahead of the Dallas Cowboys. It's Tampa Bay, it's Arizona, it's Atlanta, right? And because of the wins that they had, they now have a less than 1% chance of getting the number 1 overall pick and about 7% chance of getting a top 5 pick and an about 15% chance of getting a top 10 pick. But they need to just lose. Trey Lance it up. The season is done. Get Trey Lance in there, and let's see what we can do. Tommy Carranza saying, good teams find ways to win those games. For example, the Chiefs. Bad teams always find ways to lose those types of games. The Dallas Cowboys. That's exactly it, right? And I was sitting here thinking to myself, maybe I'm doing a disservice to Cooper Rush. Maybe it was me. Maybe it was just the way that I think, right? I'm like, Cooper Rush isn't going to be able to get the ball down the field for the Dallas Cowboys. Maybe what they needed was Dak Prescott. And the more I thought about that, the more I realized Dak Prescott wasn't going to move the ball down the field that way for the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys were playing a ball control style of offense in the first half, and for whatever reason didn't translate that over into the second half. Rico Dowdle was having himself a game. Zeke Elliott was in there actually getting a couple of yards here and there too. There was a real chance for the Dallas Cowboys there once they blocked the kick. You talk about the roller coaster of emotions, right? I was as high as I possibly could be on the roller coaster whenever they blocked that punt. And as soon as I saw number 27, Amani Oruware, look at that, I got that one right that time, touch the ball, and I could tell that he touched it just based off the way the ball, ricocheted out. That high-angle camera, I still saw the ball ricochet out, and I said to myself, in what had to be the most dejected and broken voice that has ever come out of me, what are you doing? Jericho, my son, 12 years old, sitting right next to me, and says, "What's wrong? What happened?" Right? He's watching the game with me. What happened? What's going on here? And all I could muster out of me, as someone who's an orator, as someone who speaks for a damn living, all I could muster out was a simple whimper of, "Oh no, what are you doing?" Then obviously the nervous laughter comes out, and I sit here and I say to myself, out of all the dumb ways to lose a game, they just lost this game. Yes, there was time left, but you knew it. You saw it right there, the dejection on the team. You saw it right there. What compounds matters in this for the Dallas Cowboys, once again, as the disappointed dad that I am, it's not that you lost, it's how you lost, right? Again, maybe it's just me living the roller coaster of my own personal strife in life, of knowing that I'm the disappointment in my family somehow. I was going to say something there, but that might get back to people. I just don't want that smoke. It's a holiday season. But I watched this team, and I'm like, okay, you lost. You lost an ugly way. what's some positives we can get out of this? And I'm looking at the roster, and I'm like, you know what? Rico Dowdle, he was able to move the ball. Jake Ferguson's back. He's healthy. Damn, we just lost Cooper Beebe. He's got a concussion. When is he going to be able to come back? As an offensive lineman, you can't rush that guy back at all. Then you get the news yesterday of DeMarvion Overshown tearing his ACL, his MCL, and his PCL. My guy, I have gone through that same damn thing. With me, it was in the left knee. For DeMarvion Overshown, it's going to be in the right knee. And you think about what he meant to the Dallas Cowboys this season. That kid was a rising star for the Dallas Cowboys after missing all of last year due to a torn ACL. And your heart sinks for someone like that because you know that he was playing the game that he loved and he was just out there giving it his all. 90 tackles on the season, 5 sacks, an interception that he ran back for a touchdown, a fumble, and a fumble recovery. That is going to be hard production to replicate. And you're not getting him back the rest of this year. You're more than likely not getting him back next year either because the PCL surgery is what takes the longest. Whenever I tore my ACL, and granted, I'm not a phenomenal athlete, but I was doing athletic things at the time. I was in the Air Force. When I ruptured my ACL, I tore my meniscus, both meniscus. Is it menisci? Would that be the plural of that? Tore my MCL and tore my PCL. All of the recovery for the other things would have been 9 months. The recovery for the PCL was 18 months. Thus the reason why I'm sitting here in front of you as a disabled veteran. Undeployable for 18 months? Easy to get rid of you, guy. That's exactly what happened. Obviously, he's going to have more and better resources in his recovery than what I had with just the Air Force, right? Also, they're not going to wait 2 months to do his surgery like they did to me. But DeMarvion Overshown is a huge loss for the Dallas Cowboys because he was the heartbeat of that defense. For the talent that Micah Parsons had, you had that guy, DeMarvion Overshown, being the person that, like, you knew if Parsons wasn't able to get it, it was more than likely going to be Overshown. No matter where he was on the field, you knew that you could trust DeMarvion Overshown. And now that production is gone for the Dallas Cowboys. Zach Martin's done for the season. Cooper Beebe should be done for the season. Let that brain heal up the way that it needs to heal up. Put Trey Lance in there. Wipe your hands of it all. And go on your merry little way. The one thing that I would say that I did not like the most, even with the way that the Dallas Cowboys lost, as ugly as that loss was, losing DeMarvion Overshown, losing Cooper Beebe, taking your percentage, tanking all the way down to under 1% chance of making the playoffs and under a 5% chance of getting a top 5 pick because you won 2 games you should have damn lost. What bothered me the most was the meltdown on the sideline of Micah Parsons. Look, man, maybe I'm old school. Maybe it's just something that's different in me. But your main guys should never act that way publicly. In the locker room, do what you got to do, my guy. But to be out there in front of all those cameras on Monday Night Football, throwing a temper tantrum the likes of a 5-year-old, not even that, I guess a 2-year-old, to me is not just unprofessional, but unacceptable. And I get it, he's a young dude, and there's a lot of passion there, and there was so much on this team for trying to win. And like I said, earlier in the season, whenever he had that big, he doesn't know how to speak moment, I dismissed it away as he wants to win for his guys. And I understand that mindset. There's so much passion. You cannot go out on the football field with a laissez-faire mindset. You have to go out there as a effing killer. Something was about to come out right there. And have everything just out on the sleeves on the field. But when you're on the sideline, man, you've got, especially with the Dallas Cowboys, especially with the scrutiny that team gets, you have to be smarter about your reactions on the sideline. You can't sit there just throwing a temper tantrum on Monday Night Football where you're the only thing that people are watching. I wonder if The Simpsons showed that temper tantrum on the sideline. That would be kind of funny. I don't think they did, though. Because, as you know, the cameras are always on with the Dallas Cowboys, more so than other NFL teams. When you got your quarterback standing there with his hands in his jersey and his shoulder pads saying, "We effing suck." Scrutiny for weeks. What is this going to be now, Micah? Do that stuff in the damn locker room. Don't have your meltdown on the sideline. Tommy Cananza saying that he was more worried about losing to Marvion Overshown than losing all the games that they've lost this year. Yeah, I agree with you. That, to me, is the biggest loss, right? And I think that that's been the issue with this Dallas Cowboys team is maybe they need a new head athletic trainer. Maybe there's something there that needs to be fixed. But it feels like, to me, like they're hurt, consistently hurt. And whenever they get one guy back, they lose another guy. Whenever they get that guy back, they lose two more guys. And it just seems to be that type of revolving door. And I get it, injuries happen. Every team has injuries. I said it on Monday, right? The 49ers get their excuse for, oh, they've got all the injuries, while the Detroit Lions have just as many injuries. I cannot for the life of me understand what is going on with the Dallas Cowboys. Former Dallas Cowboys safety, former Green Bay Packers safety, my friend George Teague, pick up that name that I just dropped, puts out on Facebook yesterday, man, there must be something going on with that stadium, right? And all these people are like, Jerry's world is cursed, blah, 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 blah. And I sit there and I think to myself, I can't wait for the stories, 50 years from now, the way that we used to do way back in the day with that place over there was built on an ancient burial ground. And that's what they're going to do is Cowboys Stadium was built on an ancient burial ground. And that's why the Cowboys haven't had the success at Cowboys Stadium the way that they do. Then George Teague replied to me and said, nah, Tip, what if it's simply just the Walmart next to the stadium? And I sat there and I thought to myself, holy hell, he's right. What if it is the Walmart next to the stadium? Because if there's one thing I know, it's whenever I go shopping at Walmart, my dreams die too. I might have just lost a potential sponsor right there. Sorry, National Streaming Sports. I apologize deeply and sincerely. I'll try to do better next time. All right, y'all, we're going to take a quick break. Whenever we come back here on The Tipping Point with Mike Tipton, we're going to talk about the best teams in the NFL and who I think should be the front runner for the MVP, and an interesting stat that I learned about today that is just blowing my mind the more I think about it, and the more the more that it just it's insane to me. You might not think that way, but I'm a stat nerd anyway, and that's just the way I am. More of that whenever we come back, as we're live on X, on Facebook, on YouTube, and of course on Roku via the National Streaming Sports app.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. It's an absolute pleasure to serve as your president. I know that our community is going to come out in full force. And on the ACC side, we have Louisville.
They're playing and representing the Pac-12, even though they're in the Big Ten. To make it short, University of Washington.
It is official now. We know who's playing in the 91st Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. We have the Louisville Cardinal coming for the first time to El Paso against Washington Huskies on December 31st at 12 noon at the Sun Bowl Stadium. Tickets are going fast. We've got two fantastic teams. Get your tickets early and come out and enjoy the festivities. It's more than just a football game. We'll have something for everybody. See you there on December 31st.
Oh, hello. I'm Mike Tipton. I want to tell you about the perfect gift this holiday season. The Balber's dual-sided ergonomic design allows it to go both ways, meaning you can shave in either direction. The slim shape is optimal for trimming those hard-to-reach areas. It's also nut safe, providing a 30-degree pivoting blade that is engineered for nut keeping. Say goodbye to the cuts, nicks, pulling, tugging, and snaps. If you're looking for stamina, it's got exactly what you need. With its long-lasting lithium rechargeable battery, it can last up to 150 minutes on one charge. The Balber is IPX7 waterproof, which means it can have fun, dry, or wet. Visit www.myhappynuts.com/Mike Tipton to give your man the perfect package for his package. You know, the more I watch the stuff I do, the more I realize I'm an effing idiot. But you know what? It's a fun time, and that's all that matters to me. What's up, everybody? We are back here on the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton. We are live on X, Facebook, YouTube, and of course on Roku via our friends National Streaming Sports. Check out what National Streaming Sports has to offer. Download Roku, download the National Streaming Sports app. A lineup of shows all day long. Some wonderful shows that they've got over there as well. And of course, we are presented by our friends over at RevAutoCarCare.com. RevAutoCarCare.com. That's where I go to get all the things I need to take care of my car. That beautiful 2008 Ford Mustang GT convertible. Jesus Christ, I sound like I'm going through a midlife crisis, but at least I'm going through it with RevAutoCarCare.com. Use promo code Tipton33 and save up to 15% on selected items. And of course, our friends over at Happy Nuts, myhappynuts.com/Mike Tipton. Check out the special deals they have. And of course, on the Balber, everyone's new favorite men's grooming tool. See that right there? That's like my normal speaking voice. Like this is me, but I have to turn it up just a little bit to make it a little more palatable for everyone out there. Like Tommy, if you're listening in your car right now, I apologize for blowing out the bass, baby. But anyways, that's enough housekeeping there. Just the way that you should keep your nuts nice and smooth with the Balber from myhappynuts.com. All right. Jesus Christ, I'm an idiot. Medusa Designs tuning in and saying, you're looking sharp, Tip. Looks like you might just have happy nuts. It is. Mike, just the tip and happy nuts. It's a great combination. It's also one of the weird things to me. So this show, I've got to try to find my own sponsors. I got to go out there and do my own thing, right? I had to create a DBA and that's doing business as just Tipton Broadcasting. Tipton Broadcasting. That's what this DBA is now. because the LLC I have is Just the Tip LLC. And that's fine and dandy. I love it. I love the joke. I love that most people are in on the joke. But the thing with me is I am all about, women-owned businesses, women's sports. I wanted to do some stuff with I wanted to do some stuff with the WFA, which is a Women's Football Alliance, and having them sign a contract with Just the Tip felt wrong. I'm cognizant of these things. I have 12 total sisters. So I've got to try to navigate my inside jokes with maybe I should be a little more presentable. So glad. And this is the funny thing here is like, I was a teacher, right? Imagine trying to navigate that world of hoping that your students don't find your social media, which they always did, because my social media for what I do with y'all has to be open and public, right? So having to navigate that as a teacher, the things that I would get whenever kids would find my TikToks, especially because the meat slinger, Just the Tip, all these different things, right? Like all about double entendres and innuendos. I've also created the triple entendre, Just the Tip, the Tip of Texas, what you think it is anyway, you pervert, and me, Just the Tip, all right? The triple entendre, the triplet entendre. Mais je parle en français. Never learned how to speak Spanish, but I can speak a little French, I can speak a little German. I'm an idiot. I do speak a little Spanish. I just don't like the way I sound. I have a weird accent. Very self-conscious about sound, especially following yesterday's debacle. One day I'll get over that. One day I will get over the disappointment in StreamYard. You talk about like just back-to-back kicks in the nuts. My nuts were not happy whenever the Dallas Cowboys lost. They weren't happy whenever StreamYard let me down and didn't have audio. So I had to take a shower. Damn it, I almost got through that. I had to take a shower and use the happy nuts in order to make sure that everything was going good. Slinging that meat, baby. Medusa Design saying, a ver. I'm not going to do it. Like when you guys, it has to be something that comes out natural. You get me singing a song, it'll happen then. But if I'm trying to say it, like y'all give me something to say, it'll be like, ¿Dónde está la biblioteca, Pedro? Like that's how it would come out if you want me to do it right on the spot. Or maybe I could sound like White Goodman from Dodgeball. ¿Dónde está la biblioteca, Pedro? I've been boning up on my Spanish. I think I already kind of sound like that. I've noticed as I've gotten older, like my voice has gotten a lot more gravelly. Thank you, whiskey. Thank you, cigars. But man, I can only imagine what I'm going to sound like whenever I'm like 70 and I get to be like Clint Eastwood in Gran Torino. I think that's going to be so much fun where I can just use like espouse racism nonstop and it'll be okay because he's old, right? Like I think that's that. I can't wait for that day. I'm being asked to say the announcer one for Channel 26. I don't even know what the announcer says for Channel 26. I haven't watched Channel 26. I'm not out here watching Univision, right? Dímelo, mi gente, ¿cómo estás? I'm not, like, that sounds even worse. Like I said, it's got to be just a natural. You got to catch me in one of those moments. Once again, probably powered by tequila. Like, that's how it's going to happen here. But enough about me. Jesus Christ. I've been talking now for the last, 9 minutes, Jesus, about me, my weird voice, and all the other stuff that's out there. And I know that the people that are watching right here don't care about me, my accent, or any of the other stuff. I wanted to talk about who I thought were the top 10 teams in the NFL. Given what we saw over the weekend, some teams have stumbled. I'm not like college football. I'm not going to ding you for a loss unless it was a real bad loss. That's not how it works here. But I also realized in going over this list, the haves and the have-nots are super apparent when it comes to what we're looking at right now in the NFL. There is such a divide between what is good and what is mediocre and then what is just absolute dog shit. You saw it as it was coming out, where I knew I shouldn't have said that, but they haven't told me anything yet. I think as long as I don't drop an F-bomb, I'm okay. Have I dropped an F-bomb yet? Now I got to think. Oh, no. Okay. I don't think I have. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe yesterday there was a lot of F-bombs being dropped. But my top 10 list is going to sound odd to a lot of people, and I apologize here in advance because I'm sure someone's going to get mad at me, especially over on Apple Podcasts. I got a review the other day that I sound weird, and I'm like, I do. Thanks, guy. But at number 10, I have the Washington Commanders. And again, it pains me to say that, but as I'm looking at the other teams that are close in record with the Washington Commanders, they're 8-5 on the season. Do I think that Denver is better than them? Yeah, maybe, like, it's a push. Do I think Los Angeles, the Chargers, are better than them? It's a push. Do I think that the Bucks or the Falcons or, some of the other teams out here are better than Washington? I don't think so. I think Washington hit a tough patch in their schedule. It's part of the growing pains, right? I think that this team has a lot of upside. And that's scary to think of because I wouldn't have thought that coming into the season. I've already said my contrition. I've apologized repeatedly on it that I was wrong about what I thought Jaden Daniels could do when he got to the NFL. I also didn't think Bo Nix would be this good this quick. But it goes to show you that whenever you're playing in the NFL at that level for X amount of time, that you are going to have, or not in the NFL, in college football for 5 years like Jaden Daniels did, 6 years almost like Bo Nix did, that you're going to come to the NFL a little more prepared than the guys that are in one and done, right? You can plug and play those guys. Jaden Daniels doing a great job. Bo Nix doing a great job. And I look at the talent that they have on Washington with Brian Robinson, with Terrence McLaurin, and I think to myself, Terry McLaurin, I think to myself, this team has some upside. They've won games by a lot of points. They have a pretty solid defense, minus the streak that they had against the Eagles, the Cowboys, etc. And again, whenever they lost to the Cowboys, it was just one of those things of the sun shining on a dog's ass every now and then. I'm a believer in the Washington Commanders. They have a plus 80 in their plus minus right now. That means out of their 8 games that they've won, they're winning by an average of 10 points. That's a solid offense, man. That's solid play. That's almost 30 points better than what we're getting out of Kansas City right now. I like the Washington Commanders. That's why they're my number 10 team right now at 8-5. The number 9 team is another 8-5 team, and I think that they are a dark horse team here that if you have to go on the road and play in Seattle, it's going to be a nightmare for you. And it is the Seattle Seahawks. Good teams win games. Great teams cover the point spread. Over the last 5 weeks with the Seahawks, they have not only won 4 out of 5, but they've also done what they're supposed to be. They've been underdogs in the majority of those games. They were underdogs twice to the Arizona Cardinals and beat the crap out of them. They demolished the San Francisco 49ers, their hopes at least, whenever they won a game at the last second. Geno Smith, to me as a Cowboys fan, has a lot of Tony Romo in him, where if you have him in the game in the fourth quarter, you know that there's a real legitimate chance you're going to win that game. I would have never thought this with Geno Smith back in the day before he went to Seattle. This dude was on his way out, resurrects his career, and they have a solid run game in Seattle. They've got wide receivers like DK Metcalf over there. Noah Fant is doing a phenomenal job out of the tight end. The defense is doing their job, holding teams down to an average of 18 points a game. Like, this team is a solid team. And if you go into Seattle, as we know, always tied or flip-flopping with Kansas City on who has the better home crowd here, who's the loudest crowd, it's always either Kansas City or it's always either Seattle. It's always one of those two teams. And I am a big fan of what the Seattle Seahawks are doing right now. That team to me is a scary team, and I wouldn't be surprised if they wind up going into the season with like a 12-5 or 11-6 record and just causing havoc in the postseason. The Seattle Seahawks, to me, that is a scary team. Be on the lookout for them. At number 8, I have, and maybe it's just because I didn't like the way they lost to Philadelphia a couple of weeks ago, but I have the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, there's a lot of room to move up. The one thing that's going to constantly bother me about this team, and it's weird saying this about a Baltimore team, is that they don't have a good defense. Their defense is bad. The passing game isn't that great as well. It's super reliant on tight ends and checkdowns. It's going to all rely on Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. Granted, they were able to get a bye week later in the year, so now this week means another extra week of recovery. What can this team do coming out of the gate with the bye week? But I've got the Baltimore Ravens as my number 8 team here in the NFL, as we are currently going over the Tippy Top 10 right now on the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton. We're live on Facebook, X, YouTube, and on Roku via National Streaming Sports. At number 7, we have the Green Bay Packers, 9-4 on the season, coming off a heartbreaking loss to the Detroit Lions. There's something there with this team, right? They have, along with Minnesota, the enviable position of being a team that has to play in the division with the Detroit Lions, where over the last 100 years, you wanted to play in the division with the Detroit Lions. Tommy Cananza saying Mike having the Ravens at 8 is crazy, bro. You got to listen to the rest of that top 10, man. Right now, Green Bay, to me, a much more well-rounded team than what Baltimore is, right? Baltimore's issue, whenever you look at the rest of the teams on here, is going to make sense with them being at number 8. At number 7, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. They just find a way to win. Russell Wilson is becoming him again. We're letting Russ cook, and it's no longer hot dogs and peanut butter and jelly. Russ is actually out here doing his damn thing. Najee Harris, great running back, phenomenal running back. TJ Watt on the defensive side, a great secondary that they have as well. This team just has, again, it. Whatever it is, they've got it. And it's the intangibles, right? It's having a guy like Russell Wilson there who can teach you how to be a professional. The fact that they're able to navigate the crazy waters that is George Pickens. Oh, my God, I can't. Okay. George Pickens, to me, is a prime example of what he and Jameis Winston, George Pickens and Jameis Winston, to me, are a prime example of what fun CTE is, of how you can just have fun despite the fact that your brain might not be all there by the end of your career, right? That's the fun side of them having the CTE damage that happens during football. George Pickens and Jameis Winston. For Pittsburgh to be able to navigate the unpredictable waters of George Pickens says a lot about this team. And, I mean, even like Pratt Freiermuth, right? Like, this team is a solid team offensively. They're solid on defense. To me, this is a scary-ass team that you're going to face in the playoffs in Pittsburgh. At number 5, 11-2 on the season, the Minnesota Vikings. Another team that has whatever it is, right? Sam Darnold is doing his thing. He has proven he is doing all he can to rip off the bust label from himself. But he also has phenomenal talent around him. Finally has real talent around him with Justin Jefferson, with Aaron Jones, with Addison, Addison on the team as well. They have a solid defensive scheme. This is a young team that you look at right now and you say to yourselves, they might not win the Super Bowl, but they are going the right direction. That's all you want from your team, is going the right direction. You cannot deny that a team being 11-2 on the season with a plus 99 plus minus right now, that means that they're winning their games by an average of 9 points a game. A solid team here. I mean, again, I don't know if I'm going to trust them in the playoffs just because of who their quarterback is, but he is doing everything, to me at least, to shake off that negative connotation of Sam Darnold being a bust. They have a solid offensive line. They have a great defensive line. They're able to get pressure. They're able to start blowing teams out. This is a scary-ass team to face, and crazy to think that a team at 11-2 is my number 5 team right now on the Tippy Top 10. So far, we have Washington at 10, Seattle at 9, Baltimore at 8, Green Bay at 7, Pittsburgh at 6, Minnesota at 5. Coming in at number 4, and it sounds like sacrilege to do this, but it's the Buffalo Bills. The only chink in the armor on the Buffalo Bills is that you can run against them. That's their only weakness, is you can run against them. Think about the stat line that Josh Allen just put up this past week. 3 rushing touchdowns, 3 passing touchdowns. The first player in the NFL to do that since Otto Graham was a quarterback for the Cleveland Browns in the 1940s. 2 people in the 105-year history of the NFL have done what Josh Allen has done. And he is the only player in the history of the NFL to have scored 6 touchdowns and lose. And the way that they lost was the Rams were running the ball, ramming the ball down their throat. If they can find a way to shore up that run defense, they would be a real problem. But running the ball is how you win championships in the NFL. It's what you do in the playoffs, that cold weather playoff stuff. Last week I was going out, this is the best team in the NFL. But that big chink in the armor, if they face a team like Kansas City, if they face a team like Pittsburgh, if they face a team like Baltimore, that is a scary proposition to think. Number 4 for the Buffalo Bills at 10-3 on the season. Number 3, you got to give the devil their due. The Philadelphia Eagles, they just find a way to win. Like maybe it's the weakness of the NFC East, but it just comes off as one of those, like, they're good. Like, you got to give the devil their due. Like, they're in the division with the Cowboys, but they are good. Plus 108. They have a 9-game winning streak right now. They're 11-2 on the season, 5-1 at home, 6-1 on the road. I mean, they are just they're good. I mean, there's not anything else you can say about it. And that team is like your prototypical team that you want to have running the ball, right? Like, that's the team that you want. If you could build your team that way in the playoffs, you build your team just like the Philadelphia Eagles. And it sounds sacrilegious to me. It sounds dirty to me that they are a team that I'm giving love to because they're the Philadelphia Eagles. Another word was about to come out right there. And I cannot stand that team. I get more joy out of watching them lose than I do watching the Cowboys win, and neither one has happened very often this year. But still my number 3 team on the season. At number 2, they just find a way to win. They always find a way to win. And good teams find a way to win. Great teams cover, and that's what they're doing. They're covering, and they're finding ways to win. It's the Kansas City Chiefs, 12-1 on the season. The lowest plus-minus of any team that has ever went 12-1. Their plus-minus is 53. 56, rather. My apologies, 56. And it's because of this plus-minus that they're only winning games by 4.5 points a game. But it doesn't matter how you win. It matters that you win. And the Kansas City Chiefs, to me, just have the Lord shining down upon them. And that's the only way that you can explain how they just keep winning and winning and winning. Tommy and I were talking about this over the weekend. Not only are they good, but they just seem to have Lady Luck on their side. And if Lady Luck continues blessing them this year, how can you bet against them? How can you go against the Kansas City Chiefs? Once again, the Tippy Top 10 right here on the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton. We are live on Facebook, on X, on Roku, via the National Streaming Sports app. The podcast has been launched once again, so wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, wherever it is that you get your podcast, that's where we are. At 10, we have the Washington Commanders. At 9, the Seattle Seahawks. At 8, the Baltimore Ravens. At 7, the Green Bay Packers. 6, the Pittsburgh Steelers. 5, the Minnesota Vikings. 4, the Buffalo Bills. 3, the Philadelphia Eagles. 2, the Kansas City Chiefs. And that means at number 1, we have the Detroit Lions. This team is just good. They're on an 11-game winning streak. Think about that, an 11-game winning streak. They're 12-1 on the season. They're on an 11-game winning streak right now. They have a plus-minus, the biggest plus-minus in the NFL right now, of plus 183. They're winning their games by a touchdown and a half on average, or 2.5 touchdowns, rather, on average. On average, they're winning their games by 2.5 touchdowns. Defensively, they're great. Offensively, they're great. I can't find any real chinks in their armor. And it's scary to think about that. They're playing for that coach. They're playing for each other. Dan Campbell versus anybody. You're going to go with Dan Campbell. The man is a gambler, and the gambles seem to be paying off this year. For as lucky as we can say the Kansas City Chiefs are, the Detroit Lions aren't just lucky, they're effing great. Like everything is going their way. I know there's a lot of people out there like they need a loss. Like there needs to be that loss to humble them, to remotivate them to do this and that. I don't even know if they need that. This team is just playing at a different level than the rest of the teams in the NFL are right now. And again, it's a terrifying proposition to think that this team, the Detroit Lions, could potentially be your Super Bowl winning favorite as we head into the postseason. 4 more weeks left of regular season football, and then we get into the postseason. This last month of regular season football is going to be so much fun to watch. And whenever you look at who the Detroit Lions have coming up, they've got a big game coming up against the Bills. I think, and this is going to be this week, I don't know how this game isn't like a primetime game. It's an afternoon game on CBS. But how this isn't your Sunday night or Monday night football game to me is just mind-blowing to me. You got the Bills, so that's going to be a toss-up, but I think the edge is going to have to go to the Detroit Lions. Then you've got the Bears, the 49ers, and the Vikings. I think they beat all those teams. They could potentially go into the season at 16-1. A team that a decade and a half ago was 0-16 could enter the NFL postseason at 16-1. It is just absolutely mind-blowing. Looking over that list now, Tommy, do you think the Ravens at 8 is a good enough spot? Maybe they go up to 7, but I can't see them being better than Pittsburgh, Minnesota, Buffalo, Philly, Kansas City, and Detroit. Like they're just not. And there's nothing on their side that says they are. Tommy's saying number 1, Lions, 2, Chiefs, Bills, Vikings, Eagles. The Eagles are under the Vikings, my goodness. Ravens, Steelers, Packers, Seahawks, and 10 would be the Broncos with him. I don't fight with that one. I like the Broncos. It's just, again, it's a what have you done for me lately league. And the Washington Commanders, to me, if they went head-to-head, I think Washington would win. I think Washington would be favored as well. I think the Ravens being above the Steelers is crazy, given the fact that the Steelers have beaten them. Like I don't understand how you can justify that. It's insanity to me. But with a couple of minutes left, I told you that I was going to give you a stat, and I was going to let you know who my MVP is, and they both go together. I believe right now that the forerunner for the MVP should be Josh Allen. I wouldn't be mad if it's Jared Goff. I wouldn't be mad if it's Patrick Mahomes. I know a lot of people would be mad if it was Patrick Mahomes. I wouldn't be mad. Without Mahomes, this team isn't 12-1. Like we could say that flatly. They're not a 12-1 team. They're maybe a 1-12 team without Patrick Mahomes, the way that the Kansas City Chiefs are playing. But when you look at Josh Allen, what he means to the Buffalo Bills is so much more and so much greater than what any other player means to their team. Josh Allen currently right now, like I said, coming off a 6-touchdown game, the first time in NFL history that someone scores 6 touchdowns and loses. And then I saw the stat that Josh Allen has 62 total career touchdowns. 62 total career touchdowns. That's currently ahead of Christian McCaffrey. That's ahead of Nick Chubb, who are dedicated running backs. That's ahead of Terrell Davis, who is a Hall of Fame running back. And that's more than the career touchdown numbers of Hall of Fame running back O.J. Simpson. Josh Allen is having a Hall of Fame passing career and a Hall of Fame rushing career all at the same time. This kid is out here just doing his damn thing. And to think about this, that he entered college as a zero-star recruit in Wyoming, of all places. gets to the NFL, and you hear just pundit after pundit saying this kid's not going to be good. All he is a guy that can throw the ball down the field. It's just what Josh Allen is doing is phenomenal. And to me, there's no way that you could deny him the MVP. I would be very remiss in saying that, maybe, just maybe, it goes to someone like Patrick Mahomes. But, man, it's got to go over to Josh Allen. Tommy Cananzo saying, we beat the Washington Commanders, so we should be 10. The Bills beat Kansas City, so they should be 2. I get what you're saying here. I totally get it. We're going to see what happens again, because the Ravens and the Eagles get to play each other one more time. So in a couple of weeks, we'll get back to this conversation right now. They're not better than Pittsburgh. Record-wise, point differential-wise, any of it. They're not better than Pittsburgh. All right, y'all, I want to give you a big thank you for tuning into today's show. Once again, The Tipping Point, we are live on Roku via the National Streaming Sports app. Thank you to everyone on National Streaming Sports who is tuning into the show. We appreciate the love and support. And, of course, everyone on YouTube, Twitter, and X. We will see you all tomorrow.
Oh, hello. I'm Mike Tipton. I want to tell you about the perfect gift this holiday season. The Ballber's dual-sided ergonomic design allows it to go both ways, meaning you can shave in either direction. The slim shape is optimal for trimming those hard-to-reach areas. It's also nut-safe, providing a 30-degree pivoting blade that is engineered for nut keeping. Say goodbye to the cuts, nicks, pulling, tugging, and snaps. If you're looking for stamina, it's got exactly what you need. With its long-lasting lithium rechargeable battery, it can last up to 150 minutes on one charge. The Ballber is IPX7 waterproof, which means it can have fun, dry, or wet. Visit www.myhappynuts.com/Mike Tipton to give your man the perfect package for his package.